I'm back! As an atheist, I often see lots of videos speaking out against atheists, and often they're not worth looking at. However, Brett Keane is a YouTuber who has some questions that apparently atheists can't answer. Unfortunately for me, this is something that I find hard to pass up. So, I'm back and we're here answering some unanswerable questions for atheists. Hello all and welcome along to another episode of Tinfoil Tuesday with me, Simon Dan. Thank you very much for joining me. Before we begin today, a quick thank you to the sponsors of today's video, Opinion Outpost. It is unbelievably easy to get paid for your opinion. You could be making money watching Netflix, up at night when you can't sleep, waiting to meet friends, literally anywhere. I've tried it out and it is an absolute breeze. I'll be using that little bit of extra cash to spoil my kids a little bit more during the lockdown. If you're interested, then click the link in the description to start earning some extra cash now. Right, okay, back to today's video where apparently Brett Keane is asking some questions which atheists can't answer. Let's hear you, Brett.
Well, hello, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Brett Keane from God TV Radio. I hope you're all having a wonderful day.
Positively lovely, thank you, Brett.
We are going to be working on a series called Questions That Atheists Will Never Be Able to Answer. And I'm going to leave open the comments on this video. And I promise you it's nothing short of ad homs and personal attacks is the only thing we're going to receive. There's not going to be any kind of intelligent answers.
Well, let's see, shall we?
I'm going to warn the atheist before we even start. I know that your favorite friend in the whole wide world is Wikipedia, but Wikipedia is not going to be able to answer the questions for you.
That's fine. Bit of an assumption there, Brett, but please carry on anyway.
In fact, after the end of this video, you're going to have to accept and acknowledge that it is more rational and logical that we have a guiding force, an intelligent mind, with a purpose and meaning behind our existence after watching this.
The arrogance is unreal, isn't it, people?
What you see before you is created, designed slime. That's right, all this material that you see on the screen was actually created by someone or something. Most likely someone using something to make it.
Yes, I know it well. My 5-year-old loves the stuff. Just the other day we were playing with some alien autopsy slime toy thing. There was slime everywhere. It was a lot of fun.
Now in the Bible we have God actually explaining that he came from outer space, created the earth, and then used the cosmic dust that we can find in the universe to create us from the materials of the universe. That's what the Bible says.
Does it? I can't say I'm familiar with that creation story.
Science claims that we came from some kind of primordial ooze. That would be the atheist, the slime. Without a guidance, without a God, without anything.
Well, it's a little bit more complex than that. I certainly don't think the theory is all about a slime. I freely admit that we don't know exactly how life started here on Earth, but there are a few theories. And the science points to the formation of some RNA at some point due to the increase in reactive chemicals that built up on the Earth's surface over time. There are gaps in this theory, of course, but at the moment it's the most plausible one.
Now let's get to the important part of this. Let's get to the question that atheists have been waiting for. The obvious beginning question would be, where did the material come from?
It was already here, Brett, on the Earth's surface. The atmosphere was chock full of nitrogen and carbon dioxide. Volcanoes spewed out hydrogen, methane, water vapour. Hydrogen cyanide was created from the UV light of the sun shining on Earth. There was lightning strikes. It was all there.
If there's no guiding force. The second question is, Where did the mechanism come from that makes it to where the slime, whenever it started becoming anatomical body shapes?
Unfortunately, Brett, you are seriously misunderstanding the process. The production of RNA would have been the very first step on an extremely long road. You wouldn't have just had bodies climbing out of slime.
What was it that was inside of the mind or the brain or the anatomy of such creatures that made it to where they didn't just turn around and begin killing each other like narcissistic sociopaths?
You are way ahead in the timeline here, Brett. The predator-prey relationship would have come much, much later in the timeline of the history of life on Earth.
Science tells us that there's a mechanism in our brain that causes it to where we don't just turn around and begin killing everyone and everything around us.
Yes, it's called altruism. Dawkins discusses it at length in much of his books.
For those out there who have never heard of this, perhaps you've heard of psychopaths and sociopaths and crazy people.
Yes, and these people more often than not have a psychological disorder, don't they?
You know, the type of people that get it in their head that they want to go kill people. And science tells us that people like this have absolutely no control over their urges or their desires. When they feel like dead things or raping people or destroying and killing, they do it.
I'm not sure I understand where you're going with this.
They plan it out and they go out and they go and do their killing. And that thing that's supposed to be in their head that every normal person has is simply not there for them. They are not able to contemplate or argue with themselves or have that consciousness inside of them that says, don't go out and murder people. Don't go rape women and children.
Yes, they have a mental illness. Let's bear in mind as well here that he is talking about an incredibly small percentage of people here.
Now, at some point in time, the atheist is going to tell us that there was a story, and the story is evolution. And through abiogenesis, somehow these organisms began to evolve and change over time. Well, at what point in time did they get that mechanism that caused it to where they could control themselves, to make it to where they don't just turn to their parents and the children around them that they've produced and kill everything?
Altruism doesn't really have an obvious evolutionary benefit, but it exists. It's not massively common, we don't see it a huge amount, but it's quite clear that it is passed on genetically. In terms of humans though, there is an argument as to whether true altruism can exist.
Obviously, if you don't have this mechanism, any creature out there that doesn't have the control or the mechanism in their brain to stop them from killing would end up destroying everything around them, and everything would kill each other until everything went into extinction.
And that would be helpful to your survival how?
Now, the atheist is probably going to say something retarded, as I am commonly hearing from them whenever they say, well, the reason why evolution gave us the mechanism so we wouldn't kill each other, dirt.
I like how at the beginning of the video he said there will only be ad hom attacks from atheists, and he's saying all of this.
The problem is, for our dumbass friends, the atheists out there, they don't explain how exactly this mechanism came into play. You see, nature is not aware if we're killing each other. Nature doesn't even acknowledge that we're alive. Nature doesn't know when we're born, when we're suffering, when we're miserable. Nature doesn't give a shit if you have an advantage over another creature or not.
I fundamentally disagree with this statement. Living or dying in your environment is nature. The things you are talking about is nature in action.
So why would nature create a mechanism to protect everything around you? Why would nature even create survival instincts? You know what a survival instinct is, right? Something big, bad, and nasty wants to whoop your ass and pound you into the ground and f*** you to death.
What a way to go.
And something in your brain says you need to run. We need to run and we need to defend ourselves.
Yes, it's an evolutionary trait called fight or flight. It allows your genes to survive and therefore be passed on.
Well, why is that there for? The atheist might say, well, perhaps we learned this, yada, yada, yada. Well, the thing is, let's say that we've got 3 people, 3 cavemen who are walking around in the woods, and they come upon a creature that they've never dealt with before, or that they have, and the creature fucking kills them. Well, how exactly do you learn from that and be able to adapt to that scenario if you're fucking dead?
That right there is you missing the point. If that creature kills you, then of course your genes won't be passed on. Therefore, you aren't likely to produce any offspring that would be interested in going to look at dangerous creatures. But if you're a caveman that's quite wary of danger and you don't want to go out looking for these creatures, then your genes survive and you can therefore pass them on. This means that your wary nature is also passed on. That right there is natural selection happening.
The atheist will not be able to answer this.
Just did.
Now the atheist might say, well, 2 of them might die, but 1 of them will survive and go on to doing their thing. But then we have to ask ourselves, where does the memory capacity as well as the ability to learn from an experience come from? Where does the mechanism come from where we even acknowledge experiences in the first place? Has anyone ever looked at a fucking cockroach and asked yourself, does the cockroach know that you're about to kill it?
Of course it doesn't. That's not how genetics works, Brett.
Is it aware that it's going to die? Does it even know what death is? Does it even know what it means to be alive?
Highly unlikely, but does that make it any less of a creature?
The cockroach never learns. It never acknowledges, it never understands.
On a level like this, no. But let's say you have a cockroach that doesn't like going out into open spaces for whatever reason. That means that cockroach is less likely to be killed by your boot. So therefore, the genes for preferring snug little holes and whatnot survive, which means its offspring are less likely to be in a situation where they get stamped on, and so on and so on.
Just like humans, way back then. Unless there was something inside of them, unless there was some kind of magical soup that they rolled around in, there was absolutely no way for them to get this. And if the atheist says, well, long ago, because of their environment and their variables, this is the reason why we got a memory capacity. This is the reason why we were able to do this and that. I mean, right now, the only thing science tells us is that our eating habits. It says some creatures will eat vegetables, some creatures will eat fruit, some creatures will eat meat. Some creatures can eat both. All right. Then they say that the brain and the skull gets bigger. Okay, so the skull gets bigger. How does this in fact actually do anything or attune the brain to being able to think better in any kind of way?
Larger brains can process and store more information. However, some chimpanzees have been known to complete memory tasks better than humans.
The answer is always, oh, well, the brain is bigger. So what? There's creatures out there that got heads way bigger than our own. There's creatures out there that got brains that are bigger than ourselves, and it doesn't mean dick for them.
It's more to do with the brain to total body weight ratio, and humans are way out in front on that factor. Additionally, it's about all the other extra areas of the brain as well. Humans have the largest cerebral cortex of all mammals. This is the bit of the brain that's responsible for higher function things like languages and memory.
Having a big brain, having a big head, don't mean shit if you don't have the fucking toys and wheels running around in that thing to actually help you and to assist you in any of the things you got. And then, of course, there's the common problem of why is it that humans have all these abilities, but all these other creatures, especially the ones with bigger heads and bigger mass than us, why are they not able to think their way through shit? Why is it that they are so two-dimensional?
Because our brains have evolved in order to be able to do that. I've just explained regarding the cerebral cortex thing.
The mechanism's very important, though. Why is it that any of these creatures out there, even the smallest ones, they seem to have this ability? Why is it that the concept of fear even exists? Why is it that whenever a rabbit sees a rabid-ass wolf, it runs away?
Survival. The inherent need for your genes to survive and be copied and passed on trumps all else in the animal kingdom.
The rabbit has some kind of instruction inside of its system, inside of its program that tells it, we can be destroyed, we can be killed, this thing can cause us pain, this thing is going to damage us, and the rabbit will take flight. It will fucking run off. But where did it get the ability to even be able to acknowledge these things around it?
It's part of evolution. There is no acknowledgement per se, it just acts on instinct.
It's not as if a bunch of rabbits sat around in a fucking tree stump like Winnie the Pooh and discussed their options about this.
Very mature. Seriously, Brett, it looks like you're almost done, and as yet there have been no questions that I've not been able to answer. Do you have any?
And like I said about nature, nature doesn't know a fucking thing about rabbits. It doesn't have a name for any of the creatures because nature itself isn't conscious. Where did the advantages come from? Where did the benefits come from?
I'm sick of repeating myself now, and it seems the expletives are becoming more common. This certain topic obviously frustrates Brett. Don't worry, mate, you'll get there in the end. Right, let's leave Brett there for today. I'm sure we'll be seeing more of him in the future. That wraps up today's Tinfoil Tuesday. I do hope you enjoyed it. Just enough time to once again thank Opinion Outpost for sponsoring today's video. Again, if you want to earn yourself some extra cash for your opinion, then click on the link in the description. Please do like and subscribe. It'd be thoroughly appreciated if you do. I have been Simon Dan. Have yourselves a great day, and I'll see you tomorrow for the next Physics for All video. See you then.